remember going to McDonald's because I wanted hotcakes, which is really the only reason I go to McDonald's is for hotcakes. There's nothing else I really trust there. Maybe ice cream, but hotcakes was what it was.
I love everything McDonald's. I'm a glutton for McDonald's.
I'm not. This isn't the purpose of what I'm getting into, but we could duke it out if we had to. But anyway, so we get to the window, and the guy says, "Do you want to donate to blah blah blah?" I already tune out anytime I hear that. He's like, "Do you want to donate?" And I said, I did a wave of the hand, like a clearly no interest wave, and said, "Nah."
Like that?
Yeah. I said, "Nah," and he starts laughing. He goes, "Nah." I was like, "Yeah, nah." He looks over to his coworker. He goes, "He said, nah." like it was the greatest thing he'd ever heard. He's just cracking up the whole time while he hands me my food too and stuff. He's like, "Have a good day, man."
He said, "Nah."
I didn't think much of it, but yeah, that's what I say when I get asked those questions. I'm just like, nah.
I never donate this to companies. Like if there's ever do you want to, every time I go to PetSmart and I check out, the thing always says do you want to donate to animal shelters? I'm like, no, I don't.
Nope.
Because if I was going to, I would do it on my own accord, and I wouldn't do it to pad your corporate donation budget just for your tax purposes and just so you can say that you donated this much. And really it was your customers who did it. And I don't know. I just find that really annoying when they ask me. And then because I've adopted that mentality, I have so much comfortability just being like, no, I'm not going to do that. Because I used to always donate because I don't know what to say if I didn't. But now I do. I'll just say that. I'm like, no, it's just so you guys can write it off that you donated all this money to charity when you didn't.
Yep.
Like if you really want to write that off and you really want to be virtuous, why don't you just take a percentage of what I just paid you for this product and then donate it?
Yeah. That way it's actually your profit. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Give me 1 second. I got to go hide this. I got to go hide Lauren's ring. It's funny because I can talk about it in the podcast because by the time this airs, the proposal already happened.
Oh.
Which, by the way, for the listener, I'm proposing to my girlfriend in Mexico next weekend. Yeah, plot twist. She just walked in. No, she didn't.
Am I supposed to I feel like I'm doing a bad job. I should act more surprised as if I haven't been.
Gasp.
Wow. Total news. That's
it's going to be funny because it's October 14th right now. I've been planning this since June, and it's funny because she's going to listen to this and hear me talk about it on October 14th. And she's just going to be like, my life was a lie. Well, then give me 1 second.
Yep. You are trying very hard to find a place to hide it. And this is terrible. This is like watching Scooby-Doo, where there's a very clear outline of where the thing is hiding. Yeah, that's not great. That's not a good spot. Hope you fix that later.
What?
Nothing. You'll hear it when you listen to this.
So I decided to hide it in my my comic book crate. I'm like, she's never gonna look in that. I was like, I never even look in that.
Yep. All right. Today we're talking about
horror stories. That's HORROR, not WHORE.
Yep. We don't want to talk to HR. Nope. We're talking about the spookies.
Horror. Well, speaking of, because it's Halloween is coming up when we air this. I think Halloween will be, when is this going to air? Halloween's going to be the following Monday. So we're going to air this on the 28th. So you're listening to this in the future on October 28th. And this is just a really perfect time to do one of those Halloween specials. But speaking of Halloween, before we get into it, so we just moved into our new house. It's in a little cul-de-sac area, and we are by far the youngest people in this cul-de-sac. Still in our 20s. Everyone around us is either in their 30s, 40s, or even up to 60s. And we feel a little out of place because our front yard is just completely decorated in the Halloween stuff. We've got ghosts hanging from the trees. We have tombstones with skeleton hands coming out of the ground and like pumpkin lights lining the walkway. And I, and none of the houses around us have any Halloween decorations whatsoever. Not even a jack-o'-lantern or a pumpkin outside. Granted, it might be a little too early for a jack-o'-lantern.
It could be. We haven't carved yet for that reason.
But you think people would have like some decorations out, just something, you know?
We got one ghost out, to be fair. So yeah, it's plenty early enough. Spooky.
And so, well, we think that everyone around us is like very Catholic, because there is a Catholic school relatively close to us. And when I think our second week that we lived here, there was this group of kids that came over and they knocked on the door and they asked me if there was anything that they could do in the yard for like help. And I was like, nope. I was like, unless you like hard manual labor, then yeah, but no, like there's nothing that children should be doing in the backyard, in my backyard. And so I have a like a half-acre backyard, and in the corner of it, there's just like I cleaned it up, but there's like this 1,000 square feet of just like 10 years of just leaves piled up and sticks and stones and but it's all cleaned up now. But I wasn't gonna have children go back there and go through that because I have no idea what was living in there. But I was like, nope, I don't. And then they're like, it's free. like they were like offended that I said, no, you can't do labor at my house. And I was like, no, that's okay. And then, so they left and I shut the door, and then I told Lauren about it, and she goes, well, they could have been Catholic students, because even in grade school, when she went to Catholic school, you had to do community service. And that's probably what they were looking for. But it's even more awkward because I could see their mom at the end of their driveway just like looking at me, like looking at them really, but they're in my direction. And I was like, oh, I feel a little bad. I feel like I should have just like, I don't know, had them pick up dog poop or something.
Something fairly safe.
Yeah, but I don't know. I was also remodeling. Anyways, no, so we're like, okay, well, they're probably Catholic, whatever. And then we started decorating for Halloween, and then I realized that, oh, they're like Catholic, like they don't celebrate. Yeah, they don't celebrate Halloween. And then I started looking around me. I'm like, no, I guess nobody celebrates Halloween over here.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, so we're like the only house that has the stuff. We almost bought the Skelly from Home Depot, the 12-foot animatronic skeleton.
It looks like a Titan. If you've seen Attack on Titan, like you showed me a picture, and I was like, "That's a Titan."
Yeah, it was like $399 retail, but everyone bought them and it sold out, and everybody was selling it for like $600-800. But I found someone that was selling it for like $450, and I was like, "Would you take $350?" He was like, "I'll go down to $4." And then I was just like, "Nah, I'm not gonna get it." But also, we're already 15 days away from Halloween, and we're going to Mexico here soon, so I don't want to buy it and then set it up when we get back and have it up for 2 days. So maybe it's a next year thing, but I want to get it almost just to be spiteful that nobody celebrates Halloween in my neighborhood. I just be like, you guys have no decorations. We have a graveyard and a 12-foot skeleton in our front yard. I feel like it would be my goal to make suburban moms angry at me.
I really like Halloween. It's my favorite holiday, without a doubt, hands down. But I'm also the Grinch, so that it like compensates for that.
I like Christmas, but Christmas with no presents. That's my favorite Christmas. Christmas with just food. Now, someone listening onto this is probably they're like, then why don't you just like Thanksgiving? Because the Christmas food, I think, is a little different than Thanksgiving. At least how I grew up, it was. And
I hate the whole thing.
And
just
I like
the whole. You can start like the second that Halloween's over. I just want it to be May. Really, you just half the year just skip.
Yeah. I like Christmas and when we eat and when we talk with the family. And then, so my family does it. They eat, they hang out, we eat, we drink. And then it's like, all right, time to open gifts. And then it's just like this cluster of kids and children and presents handing out and just people being loud. And frankly, I don't like buying presents for people. And I don't like receiving presents very much from, well, I don't mind receiving presents from people I know, but like my aunts and uncles and stuff like that. Like, I'm like, you can get me a present, but I'm not going to get you a present because that's like $1,000 between everybody else. Who do I get a present for, and who do I choose not to?
Yeah,
that's why I don't like it. But I do like
I'm bringing it back because we should save this for Christmas. Okay, I got beginning horror story, which is mine. And it's, I think
we didn't talk. Did we say we're going to talk about agency horror stories? I think we just said we're going to have a Halloween special.
Okay.
So
agency.
So during this Halloween special, we are going to talk about agency horror stories that Cody and I have experienced ourselves, but also just a couple out of the ether. We're just going to go online and see what there are. I got two that I found that were pretty interesting. Okay, now you can talk.
All right. Well, the first one I have is when I started working. Like, not soon after. So I got started at the startup. It was fun. It was exciting. They recently got acquired. So it was still this like fun vibe, but they had benefits now because they had parent funding to make things more cush. And it was a good time. And then like a month after, so there were 3 founders, one quits, right? Very little explanation. Still okay. Still 2 founders. Within the same month, we have a last minute meeting at the beginning of the day where one of the other founders says, hey, everybody, come on, let's talk. Then he starts out and he's like, well, guys, it's been fun. I'm like, I'm looking around like, what's been fun? I'm having fun. I'm still having fun. What's going on? And he was gone. He was gone too. So
was that did he even give a notice, or was that him saying, no, after today I'm done?
Every time it was the same day.
Oh my God.
Yep. So I remember just being very confused, and I try to think about that with our team and stuff too, just having like clarity and explanations as to what's happening and why it's. And I understand that there are times when you don't want to do that because sharing information is worse. Like, it's better to keep them in the dark. Rarely, I would say rarely. I think that's also assuming that your team is dumb, and people aren't dumb. Come on. Like, I knew something was up because I remember going home and thinking, do I have a job tomorrow? Like, how these guys are disappearing. Do I disappear? What is this? Is this China? Are they just gonna show up and I'm gonna be no more? But it worked out okay over time. But it was I learned what acquisitions were and how they could go, and it was a spooky time.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that in another episode. Actually, you mentioned this, and it was every time we lose a client, I always have to like go to the minions and be like, no, it's fine. Like, it wasn't because we sucked. It was because they got acquired or they sold their business or whatever. And then you were like, yeah, there was one time that I was a part of a company where they got sold and all the founders left. And then it was just kind of like, oh, what do we do now?
Never any explanation. Well, and sometimes I think about when people are, I'll say fired. That's what they are. They're fired for whatever reason, right? And if they get fired for bad, here's how I see it. Either you have a bad company firing people for whatever reason, and they're just a bad company, or you have good people running companies firing the bad people. That's been my experience. And when it's good companies firing bad people, that's fine. I don't need to know the explanation because I trust the top level management and I know, well, hey, something was up. and I've been around long enough to know their values and why that would happen. So I've experienced that as well. But uh, yeah, that's definitely a better place to be as opposed to seeing disappear the same day while working at a not as good company.
So on that note, like we worked. I mean, we were your company you worked at was acquired by the company that I worked at.
Yep.
But it was a different time because you were there before that even happened. I was there not until everything already happened.
Yep.
And my horror story, the more of a horror story for me. Like it was my screw up. So we did mailers a lot for automotive dealerships, and they're transactional, so it wasn't like we had non-competes because they're just transactional mailers. And there was a dealer, I think it was in Ohio, and it was a sales rep sold a used car mailer. So if you ever gotten like a used car sheet from a local dealership in your mail, it was basically that. And it had tracked really good results, like really well. And so what they use it as a template, and then they sell to other dealers that same piece. What happened was there was another dealer basically down the road who got this piece pitched to them as a template. So then I worked on it, and they swapped everything out. They whitewashed it first, so it didn't look like it just came from the dealer down the street. But they swapped out all the cars and everything. The one thing they didn't swap out though was the phone number, and no one ever caught it. So no one ever was like, "Hey, this phone number's wrong" or anything like that. We had to send it to the dealer. When we got final sign off, they looked it over, they signed off on it, like, "Yep, this is good." And then we sent it to print. And it was like 10,000 pieces.
Ooh.
And I remember like a week or 2 weeks goes by and they hit mailboxes. Well, at the same time they hit mailboxes, the dealer gets like 20 samples in the mail sent from our shipping department. And the first thing the dealer notices, the phone number is wrong. And he goes, "Hey," so our sales rep gets a call, and he's like, "Hey, the phone number is wrong on this." And then he's like, "Oh, it is. Like, are we off by like a digit or something? Or, is it or what?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's everywhere on the mailer." And he's like, "And to top it off, it's our competitor down the street. So when people receive this, they're just going to be calling the competitor."
No.
I was like, no. And the worst part too is it was used cars. So like, it's not like a new car specific dealership where it's obvious, like this is an Infiniti dealer and then this is like a Chevy dealer. It's like, "Hey, I'm calling about this car and you're at, I don't have this." And I'm like, "Oh, we don't have a car like that, but we have a used car similar to that." Like, it's very easy to take that customer away. So,
That's tough.
yeah, well, we had to do a good mailer and then also like credit back all their money essentially.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, it was awful. It was one of the worst moments of my agency career because I never stopped hearing about it. Pretty sure processes got changed for the entire company after that.
Oh, hey, learning experience. That's nice. I had another time. It's not really spooky. It was spooky for me because we were talking to a rep at another company that we were closely with. It was actually our Google rep at the time. And there was someone on our team who over time was getting, just during this one call, otherwise, I don't know why, any other time it was fine. But this one time he would ask our rep, who was a woman, and I say this because I think it's worth pointing out, he was a man, she was a woman. And when he would ask her a question, she would go to answer it, but he didn't like the answer that he was receiving. So he would just speak over it as
Like-
though to tweak it a little bit.
She's halfway through it. "I don't like this. Hold on."
Yeah. Let me correct and then get a different answer from you. And like,
That's like Googling something and be like, "I don't like any of these top 3 results. Let's refresh my search."
Yeah, basically. So I'm not kidding. This happened, I swear, like 6 times, and I lost it. I was like, dude, could you not? Can you just stop? Can you? I understand you don't like what she's saying, but can you just let her finish? Because that's what you're asking her to do. Okay. Then you can say, I don't really care what you say. Just it's really rude to continually speak over this person. So I, I popped off a little. And then it was awkward. Things ended. I remember thinking, they finished. I'm like, I don't know if I have a job anymore. That was, I went off. This could end very poorly. So I go to work the next day, and I have hey, upper management wants to see you, to speak with you. I'm like, yeah, well, saw that coming. That's very understandable. And so I go in to talk with them, and I swear this is like was Office Space, where
Yeah.
I sit down, I'm nervous, and they go, Cody, I just want you to know that's the exact attitude we need at this company. We are very proud of you. You did a great job. I'm looking around like, well, I didn't see this one coming. That was new. That is the opposite of spooky.
I have a very similar story to this at the agency that we worked at.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, yeah. It was like like real spooky, and then it turned out to not be. So our agency, we had a local baseball team in our town. I don't think they were semi-pro, but they were like high divisional, to where it was a feeder team essentially to some even like either the semi-pro teams or the actual major league teams. It's called the Waterloo Bucks. But our company had a big sponsorship with them, so they had a lot of company outings there, where we got this whole party deck, and there were just like beer and hot dogs, like unlimited, all you can eat, all you can drink. And we went to one of those party decks at the Bucks game company, and then our coworker, she was like, "Hey, I'm having a little just bonfire at our house afterwards. So we'll have beer and stuff, and we'll just sit and hang out." And so we go over to her house, and there's like 8 other people there, maybe. And mind you, this is like a Tuesday, a Thursday night. It's a Thursday night, and so we just kept drinking. And then we all decide to just go back home, probably around like 2 a.m., maybe 3 a.m.
Jeez. Okay.
So I roll into work the next morning, and I look at my friend Sam, and I go, "Hey, Sam, I think I'm still drunk." like because the hangover hadn't set in yet, but my mind was super foggy. So coincidentally, this Friday morning was actually a day that Sam and I, who was at the bonfire with me, had to present to the entire company, in front of the entire company, in our studio, which is like 150 employees.
There's a lot of people.
Yeah. So we were essentially just presenting them this new way that we go and track jobs and job accuracy. And I remember standing up and walking there, and I kind of got like the rushed feeling in my face. And then I didn't feel like drunk or buzzed like when I woke up, but then like it hit me again, and I was like, "Uh-oh, I'm drunk." So this is like 8 a.m. too. So it's like there's only like a 5-hour gap between when it all ended and then when I'm presenting. And so we presented it. We presented it, and I felt like it didn't go as good as it should have. But we did get a lot of claps and stuff like that. So I go back to my desk, and Sam goes back to her desk, and then I see I wasn't checking all my emails. I was just checking my to-do list. And she comes over and pats me on my shoulder and says, "Hey, Chad Waters wants to see us in his office." And I was just like, "Uh-oh." So Chad he's like the main, he's like the main, like the floor manager of all the sales team.
Mhm.
So he was a big deal. And so we walk over to his office. It's just like this cubby, and I am scared shitless. Like, I am absolutely mortified. I'm like, oh no, he knew something was wrong and we screwed up. So we walk into the office and he just looks at us and he goes, have a seat. Just like on the other side of his, and he's like a very stern guy. He's like, you know, like, you're going to do what I tell you to. So we just like slowly like sat down, and then we had just kind of had our heads down. And then he goes, he points like this, like towards the studio, like as if you could see it, but you can't. And he goes, that fucking shit in there. And then like, all right, here it comes. And he goes, that was awesome. He's like, that is exactly what we need. And because I love that so much, I'm going to give each of you a $200 bonus.
What?
I was like, what? What just happened? I remember we just walked out and I just looked at Sam like, I don't know what just happened. So no, it was very similar story to what you had. I will never forget that. I'll never forget just a raw fear that I had when Sam was like, Chad wants to see us in his office. I was like, oh God. It couldn't have been more than like 5 minutes after the entire company exited the studio.
Jeez. Yeah, that's funny stuff though. What else you got?
I have one from our agency, the one that we own. And,
Yeah, it's a rite of passage, right?
Yeah, it was kind of weird because it's like a bad thing, but then it happened, and I was like, it's kind of cool that happened in like a weird way. Okay, so our agency works in the lawn care and landscaping realm, and there are certain services and certain things that there just aren't a lot of stock photos that we can use out there. One of them being aeration. There just isn't a lot of photos for lawn aeration. I mean, there is for like, you know, those shoes that you put on that you just poke spikes in the ground. If you're caught using those as a lawn care business owner or like an actual lawn care company, you'll get laughed at, because there's only two aerations that actually that people actually do, and it's core aeration, which is pulling samples out of the ground, or liquid aeration, which is a liquid application. But there is like nothing for core aeration for pictures. There's like two, and I see them on every site that advertises core aeration. And then there is nothing for basically fertilization or overseeding. It is the same tired dad wearing sandals and cargo shorts using a Scott's turf spreader that he bought from Home Depot. And those pictures will just not fly on our website. And then there are certain things that like don't. There are other things like in this particular instance, it was we needed to provide a photo for like army worms, and there just weren't a lot of army worm photos at the time when we were looking through our stock photos. So I had this great idea. I was like, whatever, man, we'll just pull it from Google and we'll put it on the page. Like, I mean, they're army worms. Like,
well, okay, hold on. So you didn't tell me this at the time. I didn't know, because I've got drilled into my brain, being a communications major, that this is something that did get repeated. I mean, it gets repeated in college no matter what, but there was you can't just take a picture from Google and use it however you want to. And I was like, yeah, no, that makes sense, blah, blah. Even though that is literally people's business model. I swear, that's what the DMCA is. That's the whole point. People make enough money fast enough, they take it down. People rip images. It's a whole hot mess. But yes, however, I did not know about this at the time. And in hindsight, I don't even know what I would have said to do, because there again weren't alternative images at all. They didn't exist.
Well, I mean, to be fair, DMCA is usually like, hey, take this down, and you do it and you're fine, right?
Yep.
And so
usually.
So yeah, I went and I just pulled, a little army worm photo off of Google, and probably like this is for like an turf insect control service page, and probably 4 months later,
Yeah, that's right. All right.
our client sends us a screenshot of an email, or forwards an email that has a PDF attachment on it, and it's basically a cease and desist on this image, and they had the screenshot in there, but it's like it's written up in like legalese, like it's like totally litigated, and I was like, oh, this is awful. So they're like, so like you need to take this down, and I'm pretty sure the wording in there was or pay us like $1,500 or and pay us $1,500 or something like that. I can't remember. I don't know if they included that price in there right away. So
regardless, we did everything correct from this point forward.
Yeah. So as a goodwill, we told our client like we'll take care of it. Like nothing is on you. And as soon as we received that, we took it down. And within like the original sending of the email from the law firm to our client, and us taking the picture down, it had to have been like,
it was less than an hour for sure.
Yeah, it was super fast. And
the DMCA is usually like at least 24 hours, I want to say.
Yes. So I think I feel like we talked about this in another episode, but we're going.
I don't think we went as into it though.
Yeah, we're going way more into detail. So we took it down super fast, and then we told our client to tell the law firm that we took it down. Done deal. And then he gets an email back that says, yeah, but that doesn't satisfy my client. Like they need compensatory. I can't even say that word.
That's a tough one.
Yeah,
they need compensated.
Yeah, they need to be compensated. And they're like, I feel like a Porky Pig. They're like, yeah, you need to pay us $1,500. And you found this thing online where it was like an actual, like, I don't know where you found it, but it was like an actual code in the law that said, no, you don't have to make any kind of a monetary payment if you comply within a reasonable amount of time. And
I read through the whole DMCA, which is Digital Millennium Copyright Act. It's been so long now at this point. But on top of that, I mean, so I read through that. We fired it off to our lawyer, and keep in mind, technically this isn't even our issue because this was our client's site. We built the site, yes, but they also took on legal responsibility from us. We're just trying to be the good guys. We want to handle this in a way that, you know, we do realize that it was on us, really. Like we were the ones who made the mistake, even if it was their responsibility to, you know, vet us or whatever. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So apparently, even that. So yeah, we went to our lawyer. We asked him about this. And we're like, "What should we do?" And he basically said, "Do whatever helps you sleep at night." Like, yeah, I don't even want to say basically. He literally said that in an email. I feel like I screenshotted the email. I actually wrote about this whole thing on my website at jakehunley.com. Like it, and I even screenshotted the document the law firm sent us. I blacked out some stuff because we had to sign an NDA, and then I screenshotted some of the lawyer screenshots. Or emails, but so I was like, I told Cody, I was like, no, screw them. I don't want to pay this. We're within our rights. Like we took this down, and then Cody dug into the law firm that was serving us these papers, or serving our client these papers. And let's just say that they took a major textbook company, a major one, like a big one, like, you know them, listener.
Everybody knows them.
And they took them to court and won. And so we're like, yeah, we're not gonna mess with this law firm. We're like, you know what? Why don't you go ahead and pull $1,500 from the capital expense account and just drop that right in their pockets?
Yeah, it's welcome to the U.S. court system, where it's not necessarily about who's right, but about who has deeper pockets and can hang out long enough to prove their.
Unless you're in Texas. Yeah. Because Texas has a law against that. I can't remember what it's called, but they do have a law where you cannot do that.
Yeah, well, so we learned, and comparatively, it was a comparatively cheap lesson learned. as opposed to what it could have been. But it was at the time, especially more money for us.
Yeah, it's kind of cool though. It's like, I mean, yeah, at the time it was definitely, you know, I don't want to say it wasn't detrimental, but it also wasn't a drop in the bucket. It was just kind of like, well, that sucks. Guess we're not going to take a bunch home after this month, but it was fine, and it felt kind of I don't know, it felt like we had a big boy pants on after that.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what our lawyer told us too afterwards. He was like, "Congratulations, you're now in the club of people who have, you know, been through settlements."
Cool.
Rite of passage. Welcome to business. I had a last one here. I don't know if you had any more, but this last one I had written down was I won't say the company name because if people want to, they'll find it. But it was the agency that we were working at, and this was one of their clients, a very large automotive conglomerate. I don't know the word. They owned lots and lots and lots of dealerships.
A chain.
And chain. That was good. That's good. That's very good. Yeah. So they're a chain, and the owner was obscenely wealthy, and his wife needed a kidney. So she actually received a kidney from one of their employees.
No, no, this isn't that story.
Yeah.
Okay, because I had no idea that this was our agency. I read about it on like a Facebook instant article, and I just thought this was just some other thing I would never cross paths with.
Yeah, no, it's the real thing. Yeah. So,
oh my, dude, you're blowing my mind right now. I cannot wait till Lauren hears this episode because we have talked about this. And okay, continue.
It's really awful. So she receives the kidney, the man's wife, from the employee, and then later on, the wife fires the employee after receiving the kidney because she doesn't get back to work fast enough from her recovery. And
yeah, so I feel like I know the story very well, but not from that perspective. So here's what I read. So what I read is she offered to give her a kidney. They were a match, and they went through this whole process, and they were super great. She said, "Hey, take I don't know, it was like 4 weeks off or something for recovery." And the boss's wife took that. I heard the boss's wife was the boss. I don't know if that maybe just worked together.
Yeah, I'm not sure about logistics,
but
they were the owners, whatever. Either way.
So after the surgery, they there's 4 weeks, they're both off, and then the boss's wife goes back to work. And then, so you thinking like you're super grateful that somebody just gave you their kidney, not even somebody that's related to you, but somebody that you employ. Like, that just, it blows my mind. And then they took like an additional 2 weeks or 3 weeks to recover. And and the doctors explain like it's different. Kidney recovery is different for everybody. I would imagine kidney recovery is harder on somebody who's getting a kidney taken out versus one who's getting one put in.
You'd think so.
Yeah. And so this boss lady, she was just like, "No, like you're taking too much time off of work to recover. I can't have this. You are they fired her." And I'm like, that is insane. Could you imagine not having a kidney because you gave it to somebody who fired you 3 weeks later?
And I feel like I need to clarify the amount of wealth that they had, right? They had, well, the simplest way I could say it is they had yacht wealth, right? Like not small yacht wealth, large yacht wealth. And to the point that I'm thinking if it were me, I had that much money, my health is on the line, and like the longevity of my life, the time that I have left, and I have that much money, and somebody does that for me, I would give them enough to just be good forever. Like they saved my life, right? I just give them enough to be good. They don't even have to work anymore.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
what
insane.
more can you value
I don't
than?
know what this chick did, but I would have sued. I would have ruined their life. I would
Yeah.
have sued so hard. I don't know what case. I don't know what legs you have to stand on, but I would have found one.
Here's a side quest off of that story too that I just thought was very strange because again, this was very early career for me. Um, so fun fact about that client was we won in a fight against Gary Vee's agency. Uh,
What? No. No.
yeah.
Oh, wait. Oh, so like you were battling for the client and
Yeah, for their business.
what was VaynerMedia?
Yep. Yeah.
Oh my
So
god.
so I remember that day happening, and they were literally popping bottles, right? There's champagne, pouring it out, and I remember thinking, this is weird. Like I make maybe 1/100th of whatever is happening here. I have no clue what's
Of
going
the champagne bottle that they just popped.
Yeah, like that's what I made this month is whatever that cost. But so anyway, fast forward some time. I don't remember how long it was, but as it inevitably happens for any agency, eventually clients leave. So that client and all of their money left. And we had a meeting that was very similar to that meeting very early on, where my boss was like, well, guys, it's been fun. And I was like, what? It's very similar to that. I walk in, people are crying, real tears, real crying. And I remember one guy saying, well, I guess my wife will have to go back to work. And I looked at him and then I just stared off into the distance and I thought,
that's on you, man.
What decision-making process did you go through to think, because he was the salesman, he made the sale.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you did?
Yeah.
You
and then you stretch yourself so thin with your cost of living and living within those means or living above those means. And now you're like, well, lose that one client, all that commission. Like, that's on you.
It's such a strange YOLO. Like, I'm all about YOLOing in strategic ways. Like, calculated risk is fun. I like that. I enjoy that. That was not calculated. That was just risk. That was just in the moment. Cool. We got this money coming in. You can quit your job. We're going to live high and mighty. I don't know what mindset you're in to think, oh, well, this will just go on indefinitely and my wife won't have to go back to work again. Who knows? Mm-hmm. Maybe he was just thinking, well, it was fun while it lasted. I don't know. It was just very strange to hear that.
That's why when I calculate, like, I don't know if you do, but when I calculate our expected capital expense funds and all of our other accounts that we have and our percentage allocations, I don't count our top, I think, 2 or 3 clients in terms of payment, because if those go away, I don't want those to be detrimental to how our business operates. And that's not what the agencies typically do. They usually get a really big client and then they're just gone. So I'll piggyback on this. It's not a horror story for me. It's a horror story for another agency. But I knew who they were. So I have this client who's a very big e-commerce makeup and skincare company. They're a global company. If you're female, you've probably heard of them, but I'm not going to mention the name. We were on a call. So in my day job, I do, I do, how do I explain it? I'm a consultant essentially. So I was consulting with this company and their marketing agency was on the call, and their rep for the marketing agency was this guy. And he was wearing like a suit, like a nice cut suit, and his like wrists were in frame. I do want to be honest about this. So I wasn't on the call, but my coworker was, and he was explaining this whole situation to me. And so his wrists were in frame, like almost like this. This is how he explained it to me. And I was like, and he was telling me about that. I was like, that's awkward. He's like, yeah. He's like, I've never seen someone's wrists in frame on a Zoom call. But the reason why this detail is important is because he had this huge gold watch on, and like it was clearly showing it off, and he was not getting any of the concepts that my coworker was trying to teach them about their software they have. So the next call, I'm actually on the call with this client. So I brought it up because my coworker told me all about this, and my coworker's on the call with me with the client right now. And I go, yeah. So I heard about, his wrists were just like in the frame, and my client goes, he's just like kind of like smirks and he goes, yeah, who do you think paid for that watch? But then he just like showed us, like, we knew the numbers too. Like, we knew how much the agency was making off their account, and the agency had to have been making like $500,000 in management off of that account, like from ad spend fees. So it was a lot. I mean, it was probably like your big client at your last
big
job.
leagues.
Yeah. And I know that the worst part too is like a month later, they fired that agency because I did an audit of their Facebook ads campaign, which is where all the ad spend was going. And none of their ads campaigns were performing well at all. And I pushed a test segment over to their ad account with like a conceptual ad and like creative and targeting. And it beat their ad by like 3,000% in to return on ad spend. And so like a month later, they fired them. And I was just like, oh man, that dude's, or my coworker's like, what do you think they're doing now? And I was like, selling his watch.
Jeez.
God, I was excited to tell that. I hope that came out in like one fluid thought, because I was like, there's just like a lot of pieces of this. Is really funny.
Agencies are weird, man. It's where I've said it before. I told you that I said this before. I offended a lot of people, and I described it as agencies are where people start over. Agencies are where people who didn't try hard early enough in life end up and decide to try hard later. And I mean that in the nicest of ways.
You mean that like, from a first person, like from your experience?
It
was me. Yeah, it was me.
I mean, I'm back in college now, and to be fair, so I'm still in some ways just as stupid because I got a degree in communication. And to be fair, I keep saying that, but degrees are good. I think people should get degrees. It raises, like, in general, you look across the board, it will raise the bottom earning potential, like good, increases your odds. But communication, STEM would have been better, some sort of STEM degree, no doubt. That would have been more strategic. And now that I'm in my 30s and I tell people that I went back to college, the assumption is that I've gone for my master's degree, because that is what smart people do when they go back to school when they're older, is go higher. And I say, no, I am dumb, and I'm getting another bachelor's in not only not STEM, but Japanese. So if you want to talk about strategic, I'm not necessarily the most.
But you're doing the second thing, though, you're doing it what you want because you can afford it and you have the time. So like that's the only difference. Your communication thing, that was a mistake. That is on you.
Yep.
But I dropped out. It wasn't a mistake. I don't think it was a mistake for me to drop out because at the time I was working at the agency that we worked at, and like for the position that I was wanting the degree for. So I was like, why do I have this? I dropped out. But there were a lot of things I did learn in college that I still use today and I find very valuable. So I don't think going to college was a mistake. I don't think dropping out was a mistake. But where I am now set me on the trajectory to where I'm happy with. But I did want to point out too, according to our podcast metrics, 48% of our listeners, so we have a nominal distribution between 0 to 17, 60 plus, and everything in between. 48% of those are 28 to 34, which is our age, which means 48% of our listeners, actually, if you go higher than that, 28 to 59, which is probably my mom.
Thanks, Mom. Thank you.
48 to 50, or 18 to 59. Dang it, 23 to 59. That's we're looking at like 90% of our listeners decide to try harder later in life. So if you're listening to this, I'm going to take a bet. I'm going to say you decided to try harder later in life. You didn't get the career that you wanted out of college. You didn't major for the thing that you thought you were going to get a job for. And now you're starting an agency.
Or you're just supporting us in some nice way.
Someone's like, wow, that was hurtful.
Like, ouch, ouch.
Like,
See you later, guys. It's been nice. I like listening to you up until this one, but too hurtful.
look, hey, the truth hurts. Okay. No, I do have a lot of friends who do listen to this, and they're not in the agency setting. My dad said he listened to this a couple episodes, and he's like,
That's nice.
well, yeah, but then he goes, I couldn't understand anything you guys were talking about, and so I just zoned out. I'm like, well, none of the things we're talking about are complicated. We're not like going into ad accounts. We're just talking
More
about
than
business.
my dad. So thanks, Jake's dad.
Boom, self roast.
Ooh, yeah,
That's spooky.
This is just a painful one. We went from spooky to pain. That's where we're at now.
Cody's dad doesn't love him.
That's okay. I'm doing great. I love Christmas. That's why I don't love Christmas. Okay, guys, it's been great.
That was a good
That's all I
episode. Yeah, I had some for that we pulled out of the ether, but we didn't need them. We kept it rolling. So I hope you guys enjoyed this special episode, this Halloween edition. Maybe next time we'll talk about Thanksgiving and what we're thankful for.
Ooh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, happy Halloween.
Boo.